Hey, everyone. Anthony Fantano here. The internet's most excited music nerd. I'm psyched to bust out another weekly track roundup. I hope everybody who is watching is doing well and is ready to get turned on to some tracks, listen to my opinions on some new songs that have dropped over the past week, the best, the worst, the tracks that fall somewhere in the middle. Remember, all the songs that I bring up are linked down below in the description box. And of course, I have to give a shout out to the good people over at The Ridge Wallet. They make these nifty, minimalist, metal, plated wallets that fit nice in your front pocket. Get rid of that disgusting, bulky leather wallet. Support these guys. They're keeping my teeth straight. All right. Let's get into it. Also, we have the Amazon and Turntable Lab associate links down there. Treat yourselves, especially that Turntable Lab link. Get yourselves some colorful vinyl of records we've reviewed on the main channel, and we get kickback from it. Supports the segment, supports the channel. A few shout-outs. Karen O has a new cover of Bullet with Butterfly Wings, the Smashing Pumpkins track off of the Hannah soundtrack. Also, a shout-out to Gangsta Doodles, who, through the power of the amazing doodles that the brand drops, has come together with an amazing little compilation that has not come out fully yet, but there is a K-Tronada track out now, a new K-Tronada cut out from this compilation that you should definitely check out. That is linked down below, and be on the lookout for new music from this Gangsta Doodles compilation. I have the wonderful Gangsta Doodles book over here. I don't even know if this is available anymore, but I was so hyped to have been immortalized in the Gangsta Doodles book myself with my late dog Sushi. So I'm always a passionate supporter of Gangsta Doodles. All right, let's get into the tracks I thought were the worst tracks this week. Quite a few worst tracks, quite a few best tracks this week. Good balanced list. Let's get into it. First, this new Mark Morton cut. Some people were asking me about it because I didn't really talk about it last week. Mark Morton, if you didn't know him, he's connected to a bunch of different music groups, most notably Lamb of God and also Burn the Priest, and he has some solo material coming out. He worked with Chester Bennington actually on this new track over here. However, I cannot really say that I care for it. It just sounds like some very overproduced groove metal and metalcore, and the Chester vocal work is totally cool, totally fine. But as far as the songwriting, just the sound of the music on this one, it just sounds very, very run-of-the-mill and basic as far as like metalcore and alternative metal goes, in my view. Moving on from there, Lil Pump, shockingly enough, ends up in the worst section off of his brand new track, Racks and Racks. Enjoy the video attached to the song, which I thought just looked really ridiculous and silly and very tongue-in-cheek and dumb. But unfortunately, the raw aesthetic that has made Lil Pump's early work so entertaining is completely gone on this new track over here. It just sounds really slick, really overproduced. It is not grimy or nasty or really kind of like, I don't know, just so messy and sloppy and weird that it kind of has an admirable amateurish quality to it. Now it just sort of sounds like really mediocre, super slickly produced trap like everybody else. Lil Pump at first, he had a very raw sort of delivery, and now it just sort of seems like he's cleaned up to the point where there's nothing really special about him in this track, which is honestly very sad and disappointing. But I guess things are kind of trending in that direction with the increased budget and I guess production quality of everything Lil Pump was probably due in some point in time to just sound more average in his delivery and just sort of more measured, sort of that very amped and totally uninhibited delivery and that very youthful attitude just sort of seems to be sucked out of this new song over here, and he almost sounds just like a parody of himself at this point. New Gunna track, which is titled One Call, and all I really need is one listen of One Call to just hear that it's as mediocre, average, nearly tuneless, and forgettable as pretty much every Gunna song I've ever heard. Moving on from there, Big Boy has a few new tracks out. One titled Doin' It with Sleepy Brown, and another titled Return of the Dope Boy with Killer Mike and Backbone. And these are a pretty rough couple of tracks. I thought that the Doin' It cut was just a little too slickly produced, just way too oriented around an overly saccharine hook, and I thought that the Killer Mike cut would come through as just being like a little bit more gritty and badass and exciting, but it's actually even less listenable. The beat is I don't know, kind of messy. There's not really a whole lot of oomph to it, and the flows and the rapping are kind of mired in you know, a little bit of effects that I think maybe they were trying to make it sound kind of trippy and distant and weird, but I think it really only kind of takes away from the listenability of the track. It just sounds like a really sloppy mess, man. These two new tracks did not really have a lot going for them in my view. But moving on, Andrew Bird has a new promotional track out. It is titled Sisyphus, new record on the way, and actually I was absolutely shocked by, well, not only the cover art over here, anybody who's a big fan of archaic paintings, but also the record Death Consciousness from Have a Nice Life. You're familiar with the painting that Andrew Bird is actually like reenacting over here in this photo. But this new track, Sisyphus, that he has dropped, sounds like the most blatant Father John Misty ripoff I've ever heard in my entire life. From the drum beat to the chord progression to Andrew's vocal delivery. I've never heard him sing in this way, and also to the type of humor and lyrical imagery in the track. It literally just sounds like a bad Father John Misty impression. I'd say the first vocal line actually had me fooled for a second. I was like, is this Josh? Is this a new Josh track, or is Josh on, like, featured on this song? But then as Andrew continued to sing in this very Tillman-esque demeanor, it became more apparent that it was just Andrew. And I don't know, man, I've heard most of this dude's records up until this point. He has never sounded like this, and it's really just a blatant ripoff of one of his most popular contemporaries, and I don't get where this is coming from. This is just not really his style. And if he was to go down this road, I would hope that he would have put in the effort to, I don't know, put his own spin on it just a little bit more. But whatever, man. I don't get it. Moving on from there. Oh boy. Moving on from there. AJR has a brand new track out titled 100 Bad Days. And it's like the most sickening, stomach-churning piece of pop music for people who just like need a pillow to cry into after what, I don't know, like the coffee shop they go to on a regular basis, like gets their order wrong or something. It's just, ugh, I just can't. All right, let's get into the tracks that I thought were kind of meh. You know, not amazing, but not terrible either. First off, in this section, we have the brand new Theophilus London track with Tame Impala. It is titled Whiplash. And yeah, he pretty much, as usual, sounds kind of like Kid Cudi, but with a very strong vintage, like 80s pop flair to his style. The hook is pretty strong, and Tame Impala's input into the track isn't that bad. I don't think it's one of London's best songs, but it's actually pretty decent. Moving on from there, the Mountain Goats have a brand new cut out titled Younger from a brand new album that is on the way. Have to say this is one of the more underwhelming, more formless ballads than I think John that I think John has dropped in a while. Not exactly sure what to say about it, as I didn't really find any distinct characteristics about this cut at all. I may have to dive a little bit more into the story down the road, but did not really grip me as hard as some leading tracks did from the wrestling-themed Beat the Champ or the music historical document that is Goths. But I don't know, you know, every Mountain Goats record is a story to tell and an adventure to be had, so I guess I'll just kind of hold my full reservations for when I hear the rest of the album. Next, Lou the Human. Rapper Lou the Human has a brand new track out titled Make You Sick. I think there are actually some good ideas on this track. I like Lou's transition into grimier trap instrumentals and everything. There are some points where his delivery and his flow sounds pretty weird and the word I'm trying to say is dejected. It does show promise, but I think the structure and just sort of like the point of this whole track, it just comes off very sloppy and disheveled and not really like all that focused on whatever it's trying to get across, honestly. Hoping for something just a bit more, I don't know, lasered in onto something moving forward. Going on from there, the brand new posthumous cut from Lil Peep that also features iLoveMakonnen and Fall Out Boy, I've Been Waiting, which I think does have some very catchy qualities to it. I think Makonnen and Lil Peep, the vocals that are inserted from them onto the hook of this thing is great. Don't really care for some of the more rock electro elements and the vocals that Fall Out Boy are clearly bringing to the table, but I do think there are some admirable aspects to this piece. Moving on from there, Interpol has a nice little sort of post-album, non-album cut titled Fine Mess that if it didn't make it onto the band's last full-length LP, Marauder, it easily would have been one of the louder and rawer tracks on the record. So, you know, if you're looking for a nice, dirty, fast, mean-sounding Interpol, then this might be the track that you want to hear. Moving on from there, Higher Brothers have a brand new cut out. The Chinese hip-hop supergroup are back with a brand new cut that I will link down below as well. Some awkward bits to the flow on this one, but the hook is pretty raw and it stands out. The beat bangs. It's loud. It's in your face. It's got a lot of attitude. You know, I don't think it's the most promising or most you know, exciting rap performances that the group have delivered, but you know, it's got a nice grimy, raw in your face feel to it. And Cage the Elephant have a brand new cut out, which isn't so great, isn't so bad. It just kind of feels like a somewhat vintage, generic piece of somewhat folky rock music. You know, it's an okay ballad. Not a whole lot of distinct instrumentation to the whole thing. It's kind of raw on the instrumental side. Not really an ambitious structure or anything. Very kind of clear-cut verse, chorus, verse progressions and... yeah, I mean, again, not a bad listen. Certainly pleasant, but there wasn't really a whole lot about it that sort of stood out to me. Billie Eilish has finally dropped a brand new single, has an album release date on the way. She is essentially like the it girl in music right now. And honestly, like, I get the excitement for what she's doing when it comes to the visuals attached to it, which are usually pretty weird and forward-thinking and very artsy, but I'm yet to hear a piece of Billie music that has really blown me away. And I've been kind of like waiting for the moment when we hear a single of this promotional magnitude to come out to make like a more definite call. And yeah, I didn't really find this intriguing in any way, shape, or form. I mean, there are some weird and artsy elements to it, but the vocals are absolutely boring. And the beat, which is the most interesting part of all of it, it kind of feels like what you would get if you strip back some of the noisier and more abrasive elements from some of the beats off of like Kanye's Yeezus, you know, which I guess is not the worst influence that you could have, but I don't know, the whole sound just feels very average and familiar and just not really as cutting edge as I think some people are making it out to be. Again, not awful, and certainly open to the idea that once I hear this thing in the context of her entire new album, it may blow me away and may sound a little bit better, but I don't know, just sort of seemed like it wasn't really willing to commit to any bold or memorable ideas and sort of instead decided it was going to sit back, hang in the shadows, and be a little weird, but not so weird that, you know, your average like pop music listener wouldn't turn it off and think it's terrible. Yeah, just sort of seemed like it wanted to sound strange, but didn't really want to cross a line into a seriously weird and alternate reality, honestly. So I don't know, it seemed slightly eccentric, but not so much that it really grabbed my attention. Moving on from there, Avey Tare of Animal Collective fame has come back with the song Saturdays again, and it sounds like a very trippy, indulgent, psychedelic folk odyssey. It has some admirable sounds and textures to it, and it is quite meditative, but I can't really say it wowed me or got me that hyped up or anything like that. And finally, 2 Chainz and Ariana Grande get together and form like Voltron onto this little remix of her brand new track, her brand new song, 7 Rings. And 2 Chainz doesn't do too bad on the song. Again, not really blown away by the track, but hey, you know, still looking forward to her new album. And best tracks. The tracks that really kind of grabbed me and excited me the most this week. Let's go. This brand new track from an artist by the name of Flewids. He teams up with Mick. This brand new track from an artist that I am new to goes by the name of Flewids. He has a new song out with Mick Jenkins. It's titled Steps. It's pretty badass. It's a nice, gritty, lyrical, thoughtful piece of hip-hop. Very tasteful, very fun, very cool. That is linked down below with everything else. Also, Rico Nasty is back with a brand new single, Roof. It is nasty as fuck. I just love her delivery. She sounds great. The beat is banging. The video is from the future. And I'm just loving her energy, loving that she's building her songs out just a tad bit more, and looking forward to her getting more ambitious on this new record of hers. She's worked on a ton of new material with Kenny Beats, and I cannot wait to hear it. Kenny! Cyboogie. The brand new track from King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard is an amazing fusion of like what sounds like some Daft Punk future robot sounds with like ZZ Top rock and roll grooves, sort of built into a pretty long electro rock odyssey. It's kind of weird. It's kind of trippy. It's very fun. It's very entertaining. Looking forward to seeing where the band is going next with this new sound and aesthetic. Moving on from there, the Japanese band Chai, who came out with a great little record a few years ago that slipped under my radar, are coming back with a new album. They have a new single out. This one is titled Fashionista, and it is a very fun, cheeky, silly piece of Japanese pop and rock that has a lot of eccentric qualities to it. Looking forward to what they're doing on their new full-length album quite a bit. They do have a bit of a punk energy on some of their other tracks, maybe not quite so much this one, and I hope that doesn't disappear entirely from this new LP. Moving on from there, Health have a brand new single out. It dropped through the Adult Swim singles program, and this one is titled Feel Nothing, kind of liking the very clean-voiced, dystopian, industrial, heavy, noisy vibe the band is bringing on this new cut over here. Gotta say, I am definitely looking forward to Slaves of Fear quite a bit. Then Thotiana, the legendary Blueface cut, has gotten a remix with YG. I do wish Blueface and YG did a bit more vocally on this track, but it is still a fun, quirky song, and I think that Blueface is definitely the next thing as far as like weirdo rap stars go, with very eccentric deliveries. And you know, I think this track is really important as far as eliminating the red and blue divide. I think having YG and Blueface on a track, there's quite a bit of significance to that symbolically. Moving on from there, the band Black Midi have a new 12-inch version out along with the remixes of their song Speedway, and it's a fantastic little piece of experimental rock with some like dance music and post-punk mixed into there, kind of liking their personality. It's very despondent, it's very strange and somewhat groovy, and there's a very organic vibe to the recording of this cut quite a bit. This is definitely a UK group that I'm going to be keeping my ear out for over the next year, so hell yes to Black Midi. And Poppy has come through with a brand new single that almost slipped by me. This one is titled Voicemail, and oh my god, banger alert, banger alert. The beat on this thing is insane. Poppy herself just sounds totally nuts on the lyrics, and definitely her weirder vocal aspect sort of coming through on this track. Yeah, just kind of loving every second of this weird-ass song, where I think that she's really kind of playing into the aesthetic that you get in her YouTube videos a lot more, as far as the kind of cheeky, weird, strange lyrical content, the way she delivers her voice, how glitchy and abrasive and eerie and freaky the instrumental is. I'm liking it quite a bit, and the music video is somewhat nightmarish, so definitely enjoying this new cut over here. And that is it for the weekly track roundup. Remember, everyone, I have linked down below all of the songs that I just talked about. And also make sure, once again, to hit up the good people over at the Ridge Wallet. Use promo code MELON to get 10% off of your first order over there. And we will see you guys in the next one, Weekly Track Roundups. Anthony Fantano, forever